From the studios of Farm Journal Broadcast, this is AgDay.
An explosion rocks a U.S. natural gas facility, but the impact is being felt thousands of miles away. Finally, some relief when it comes to fertilizer prices.
That's a lot of demand loss.
Plus, we head to World Pork Expo to sample some product.
This is amazing.
And take a deep dive into the market.
We're still seeing a huge value market.
As we wrap up Pork Week right now on AgDay.
Pork Week, paying tribute to the pork producers who bring lean and nutrient-rich pork to your table. Coverage brought to you by Merck Animal Health and the National Pork Board.
Good morning, I'm Michelle Rowe. Clinton is on assignment. For the first time since November 2020, most fertilizer prices are moving lower. After soaring to record levels, product values are finally cooling off. The biggest drop has been in urea. Take a look at this graphic from StoneX. As you can see, prices are down nearly 50% since late March, with New Orleans prices dropping from a high of $935 per ton last year to $470 earlier this week. One fertilizer expert tells me it's tied to one of the latest planting seasons in several years.
Corn acres have dropped from that 91, 93 to now sub 90. That's a lot of demand loss. We've had a lot more imports than what we expected. This late spring means all this product got into place in time and is now actually getting jammed up because it's not moving like it should.
With prices trending lower, farmers are asking if this is a time to lock in some prices. But Linville says farmers need to keep things in perspective.
You're trying to get me to buy something 10, 11 months out from application. I don't love it. And as cheap as we look today, it looks cheap because of what we've gone through the last 12 months. If you go back throughout the history of urea, these are very, very high numbers still.
So will prices continue to slide? Linville says it depends on whether China restarts their exports, and the outcome of the war in Ukraine will also impact Russian fertilizer product exports. Another input farmers need to continue to factor into the cost of production right now: gas and diesel prices. They hit another record high on Thursday. AAA reporting the new record national average for gas is $4.97 a gallon, and for diesel, it's $5.74. The U.S. and its allies are searching for ways to limit further surges in global oil prices. They're attempting to balance efforts to cut off Russia's revenue from its energy sales while shielding the global economy from a possible recession. And natural gas prices are soaring in Europe after this happened. Freeport LNG is one of the largest U.S. export plants for liquefied natural gas. It suffered an explosion at its Texas Gulf Coast facility. The plant accounts for about 20% of the company's processing. It's reported it will remain closed for at least 3 weeks. Traders are concerned lost U.S. shipments will add stress to the market already dealing with a cut in Russian supplies. While drought continues to be an issue, there are some small signs of relief. Meteorologist Matt Yarosavic joins us with an update.
Yeah, Michelle, we've seen a little bit of relief right there in the middle part of the country. There's a lot of places, though, that have been very, very dry, hot for almost the last couple of weeks now, and the extreme drought conditions back in the Southwest have been going on for quite a while. Here's a look at that drought monitor and how it's changed over the past month. And if we look at this, you won't see much improvement back from really central parts of Texas all the way back to Southern California and actually most of the San Joaquin Valley, but you will see a little bit of improvement in the northern plains, right around the central part of the country, some places in Oklahoma and up toward Kansas and Nebraska, and then some still abnormally dry spots there in the east, as we've still had a lot of rain. And then going towards that root zone, which has changed a little bit, southern Florida, after seeing that tropical storm last week, or what turned into a tropical storm. Very, very moist soil down in South Florida. Central parts of the country now starting to catch up with a little bit of that rainfall. And again, that's helping those drought conditions. And then back in the Pacific Northwest, northern plains, dealing with a little bit more rainfall there as well. And severe weather and tornadoes hit portions of Ohio on Wednesday. Cell phone videos capture a storm and damage to a Meyer distribution center in Tip City, Ohio, just outside of Dayton. Emergency crews were concerned about the safety of hundreds of workers inside, but thankfully no one was injured. I'll have more on your forecast coming up.
April red meat exports were a mixed bag, according to the latest USDA and U.S. Meat Export Federation figures. U.S. beef exports set a record for April at 304 million pounds by volume and $1.05 billion by value, which is also up about 33% from last year. However, pork exports were weak at just under 529 million pounds. That's down 21% from 2021 by volume. Value was also off 20% at $600 million. Farm Journal's Tyne Morgan joins us now from World Pork Expo in Des Moines, Iowa this week. And Tyne, does the pork industry seem to be worried about the slowdown in pork exports so far this year?
Well, Michelle, the short answer is no. 2021 was a banner year for pork exports, and even though COVID lockdowns is what's partially dampening demand from China, other countries are actually stepping up to the plate and helping diversify that demand. Ships just setting at sea, containers piling up at ports, all signs of challenges the export business has faced.
We need to continue to make sure those bottlenecks are slowly eliminated over time. It gives us an opportunity to move more product outside the U.S.
David Newman is a pork producer in South Central Missouri, and he's seen firsthand how essential export demand is to the entire pork industry.
You could talk about the high cost of diesel, the high cost of feed, the outlook on feed, or you can look at this half full and look at demand, because demand is amazing.
The biggest turbulence for pork exports has been China, with exports during the first quarter of this year off 56% from last year.
We knew that it was going to be a temporary surge, and we had that forecast, but still not to the degree that imports did actually decline.
Aaron Borer says USMEF new shipments to China would be down due to a number of hurdles.
They have this whole cold chain on food concern, and so they've been testing, disinfecting, and tracing imported food products, including our frozen pork and pork variety meats.
University of Missouri livestock economist Scott Brown says the pork export situation to China isn't completely dark.
When you look back at where China was pre-ASF, we're really getting ourselves back to those same level of trade we had pre-ASF.
USMEF says China-Hong Kong is still a dominant destination for U.S. pork. Even with the zero COVID policy that shuttered streets in Shanghai, those restrictions are now starting to ease.
We think that imports do rebound. We think that China's pork imports have probably bottomed as we speak.
And with the country opening back up, it's also painting more optimism for exports overall the rest of this year.
But we also think that exports, total U.S. exports, trend above year ago for the second half of the year. And so some of that is China coming back, but some of that is continued growth into Mexico, into the Dominican Republic, into Central America.
One country hungry for U.S. pork is Mexico, with exports on fire.
Thank goodness we've seen the growth that we have in the first few months of 2022 to Mexico. Otherwise, we'd be in a much tougher situation talking about where U.S. exports sit.
Newman recently traveled to Peru and Dubai. He says globally, the opportunity for U.S. pork is remarkable.
We're still seeing a huge value market, not only in Japan, Mexico, those markets, but then also the opportunity we have in new and emerging markets and down in South America.
Growing appetites one country at a time is why the pork industry thinks the remainder of 2022 is looking up.
But if things maintain where they're at and consumer spending power stays high, we will all fare very well in 2022 and into 2023 as well.
Now, another highlight is exports to the Dominican smashing records. Exports to the Dominican have shot up 94% compared to a year ago. Much of that is due to the country being hit by African swine fever nearly a year ago. Reporting from World Pork Expo for AgDay, I'm Tyne Morgan.
Thanks so much, Tyne. Soybeans scored more new contract highs on Thursday, but how did the rest of the market fare? Markets coming up. And later, you didn't think we'd go to World Pork Expo without sampling the food, did you? See what's cooking in the country.
As your innovative and invested partner, Merck Animal Health is dedicated to the well-being of the swine industry and the people behind it. Merck Animal Health, driven by prevention.
Joining us with market analysis, Sean Hackett with Hackett Financial Advisors. Soybeans more new contract highs on Thursday, and we just continue to see demand really push that market.
The bean oil diesel story continues to power ahead. Everyone wants to crush for oil, oil, and oil. And with energy continuing to be sky high, there does seem to be absolutely no end to that, force pushing the market higher. And so until we can ensure that we have a big, big crop in the U.S., this market is just amazing right now.
Do you think that we're going to take out the all-time highs, Sean, or not?
I think if we get some weather issues, which we do think we're going to get in early July, I think that would be the trigger to allow us to make new all-time highs. It wouldn't take much to do that. So I do think we are likely to do that given our weather forecast.
And corn and wheat tried to follow to some degree, but the corn market ended well off highs. What's it going to take to keep that market going, do you think?
You really need to get the corn market to worry about summertime weather, like we said with soybeans. We don't quite have the demand side story that we have in soybeans, and we're harvesting the crop down in South America, a pretty big crop it appears, and so some fresh supplies are now going to compete with ours.
And the wheat market, are we seeing a little bit of early harvest pressure, or what's going on there?
Early harvest pressure from harvest here in the U.S. Russia's about to fire up. And, there's always going to be that low-lying supply that hits the market right away, and that should keep this market in check.
Okay, thanks for your analysis. Sean Hackett with Hackett Financial Advisors, and more AgDay coming up.
AgDay TV is brought to you by the National Pork Board with Checkoff Funding. Real pork, real results. For more, visit porkcheckoff.org.
Your Savik is back in with a look at ag weather. Lots of heat and dryness, especially to the west, and that's going to finally creep into the Corn Belt here soon, isn't it?
Yeah, it will. We've seen those triple-digit heat values back in the southwest, but eventually we're going to see at least the 80s and 90s right through the Corn Belt, but we could have that humidity factoring into triple-digit heat values in that neck of the woods. And you can see those temperatures here in the southwest. Later this afternoon, you can really see the heat building. These temperatures getting even warmer than what we showed you yesterday. 111 the high in Phoenix, 109 down in Yuma. Still in the mid-80s there in Flagstaff. Probably a nice breeze there as well, but triple digits all the way up the San Joaquin Valley to Sacramento. And yeah, it's going to be very warm and dry. It's a dry heat back there in the southwest, but still very, very warm with triple-digit heat indexes back there as well. And then if we look at the temperatures throughout the whole country, we've even got a large area of 90s and triple digits there in parts of Texas and even Oklahoma as we're heading through this afternoon. And then low temperatures only in the 70s and 80s. Very, very warm down in the south and even along the Gulf Coast with a lot of moisture in the air, a lot of humidity out there from Texas on to the east, and you'll be able to see triple-digit heat values all the way from New Orleans down towards Jacksonville and even parts of Miami there over toward Wilmington. Anywhere you see 70s and 80s on the map, heat index is going to be going up a little bit as we head through the next couple of days. And then that big ridge is going to build in. So as we head through the weekend, it starts to move eastward just a bit. Still going to be hot and dry in the south and west, but the center of the country is going to get extremely warm, and we're going to see the 80s and 90s come rushing to the north into parts of the Mid-Atlantic, the Corn Belt, and up into the Great Lakes and Midwest as well. And that's going to continue to slide eastward, but it looks like that ridge builds even more as we head through the end of next week. The heat not going anywhere. And we've also got a threat for some severe weather for today, really from Arkansas, parts of Louisiana, down through Mississippi, and Alabama as well. So we're going to keep an eye on that. But if you look at the map here, this is the area of storms coming down right through the southern Gulf Coast and then eventually moving eastward. High pressure, hot and humid conditions replacing that. So it is going to be very hot, very dry with just a chance of some pop-up storms. And if we look at the map here, you'll see most of the precipitation east of the Rockies, and that will continue to be the case as we head through the weekend and into next week. That's a look around the country. Now let's take a look at the weather where you live. Albany, Georgia, sunny and a chance of afternoon storms, a high of 94 degrees. Fredonia, Kansas, showers and thunderstorms likely, a high of 82 degrees. And in Phoenix, Arizona, it is sunny and hot, a high of 113 degrees.
Coming up, a fire at a JBS plant causes thousands of dollars of damage. And later, we head back to World Pork Expo to do some sampling.
Find farm equipment on Machinery Pete's June 21st online auction. No reserve, no buyer fees. Start bidding now at auctions.machinerypete.com.
It's reported a fire at a JBS beef plant in Green Bay caused approximately $30,000 of damage. The Green Bay Metro Fire Department says it was called to a fire in the city's east side on Tuesday evening. They say smoke was visible as they arrived at the scene. They also reported fire on the roof and smoke inside the rendering area. The fire was brought under control in less than 15 minutes, and it's thought it started near an auger used in the processing area. Fortunately, no one was injured. The big packers are facing a lawsuit, this time brought on by Giant Eagle. The supermarket chain claims Cargill, JBS, National Beef, and Tyson conspired to limit the supply of beef sold to purchasers in the U.S. wholesale market. The suit alleges this resulted in higher prices paid by Giant Eagle. The company claims it started in January 2015 and continued through at least the end of last year. We reached out to the 4 packers for a comment and are awaiting a response. The sorting and grading of citrus fruit just took a huge step forward. Check out this machine. It's called the SunSort. It comes from Sunkist. It uses Google AI technology to assess each piece of fruit. It can spot size, shape, weight, blemishes, and even decay. It also has the ability to learn through repetition from being able to tell between blossoms and stems in just one pass. The creators of the technology call it a huge time saver. Still ahead, what would a trip to World Pork Expo be if you didn't sample some of the food? We sample some pork fresh off the grill next.
Got equipment to sell privately but tired of scams and hassles? Visit MachineryPete.com and click Sell Mine. MachineryPete.com, the simple and secure way to buy and sell equipment online.
You can't go to the World Pork Expo in Des Moines and not sample ribs or maybe some bacon. Well, that's just what Farm Journal's pork editor Jennifer Syke did. She talked with one of the barbecuing pros.
Hi, I'm Jennifer Syke with Farm Journal's Pork, and we're excited to be here at the 2022 World Pork Expo in Des Moines, Iowa. So I'm here today with Bill Mulso from Sons of Butchers, and I'd like to just visit a little bit about how you got into this business and how did you get to barbecuing and becoming such an expert?
Well, the first thing, it's not a business for me because it's got to be fun. So if it's work, it's not fun. So we got started, Sons of Butchers obviously gets everybody talking, but I grew up, my dad was a butcher. My brothers helped compete with us. I had a good friend, his dad was also a butcher. So Sons of Butchers became the name of our barbecue team. And we started competing in the Kansas City Barbecue Society events in the upper Midwest of the last 10 years.
And where do you live?
We're in Marshall, Minnesota, and been connected with Relco and fortunate to come down and host their barbecue for their hospitality tent probably the last 5-6 years.
Okay, so you're pretty legendary around here and you've got quite a few unique flavor combinations. Of all the things that you prepare, what's one of your favorite things that you'll be serving this week at Expo?
Well, the big hit is pork wings, and nobody knows what pork wings are, so that's a unique thing, but probably my favorite that we'll have this evening is pig candy.
What's pig candy?
Pig candy. Everybody loves bacon, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, pig candy is we take bacon and we season it up with your favorite barbecue seasoning. This time we're using an apple pie flavored seasoning. So we're calling it apple pie pig candy. And we take that bacon, we roll it up and we bake it. And then when it's done, we take it out and we add a little more sugar and a little heat to it and let it cool down and you've got pig candy.
What's the secret to grilling or smoking good ribs?
Well, I'll show you here. Probably one of the best things you can do is don't be afraid to wrap your ribs. So a lot of people will put their ribs on a grill or a smoker and they'll just keep cooking them until they're done. Always take a pause. I like to put them in foil, add a little margarine or butter and brown sugar, wrap them back up and bring them to a finished temperature. And you're gonna love them. They're gonna be fall apart. Most people like fall off the rib bones. You can cook them so they're a little less done, but that's probably one of the best tips that I like when cooking ribs. Don't be afraid to use some aluminum foil.
Butter, brown sugar, pork. Let's put it to the test. This is amazing. Jennifer Scheich reporting from the World Pork Expo.
Thanks, Jennifer. That's all the time we have for this morning. From all of us here at AgDay, have yourself a great day.
It's time to sign up for the 2022 United Pork Americas Conference in Orlando, Florida. Register today at unitedporkamericas.com and join us September 7th through the 9th.